Hello YouTube, welcome to my channel, Coding with Colton, and today we're going to talk about finishing FreeCodeCamp. I finished FreeCodeCamp a year ago, back when they just had the full stack developer certification. Now that's legacy, they've added a few things since then, but most of the projects are still the same, at least for this part right here, the full stack dev. So I want to talk about my experience with completing FreeCodeCamp, and it did definitely take a lot of time. It's very time heavy, so I feel like I have a lot of value to give if this is something that you've been working on. So first thing I want to talk about is was FreeCodeCamp worth it? Did it prepare me for the job market? And I'm gonna say unfortunately, I'm gonna get right to it. And be honest, unfortunately, no. FreeCodeCamp is wonderful if you're just wanting to learn how to code. It is a good resource. It has structure. There's a great community, really great community, and it's free, so it provides learning to a lot of people that they just don't know how to code or they don't have access to learning otherwise. So the things that Free Code Camp does are good. They're doing good things in the world. But I think for 99% of people, they are trying to get a job as quickly as possible, and so Free Code Camp, I don't feel like is the best route for that because it's so time intensive, and a lot of the projects that you do and the things that you do don't translate super well into impressing employers. And that's just been my personal experience. So it might be different for you, but I'm just going to give you my personal experience because I feel like sometimes the picture that gets painted is, everything is rainbows and butterflies, but the reality check is there's a lot more involved, and so I want to talk about that. So, for example, I'm just going to get right into showing you what I mean. So, the projects they have you do about 30 projects, at least for this full stack developer certification, and it says 1,800 hours. Honestly, that's pretty realistic, especially if you're new to coding, and you work on all this stuff like learn some HTML and CSS, to React, to data visualization, to working on things on the back end. And so I'm going to give you guys an example of like what these projects look like and the time involved, and then I'm going to compare that to like what's on my portfolio or the things that are on other people's portfolios, because I feel like these are the things that are helping me actually, they're actually helping me get interviews. So we see, for example, like right here, like here are some projects that I have that I've done or that I'm working on. I'm still working on this one. But we see like, like out in the wild, companies are actually, they're solving business problems. They're actually building real websites. Here's one project that I did. This doesn't solve a business problem really, but it was just a cool project that I worked on. Just shows hiking locations and pulls up mapping information. So here's a few screenshots for what it looks like. I don't want to go too much into that right now, but a project like this, like it's actually hosted. It's a website. It does some cool stuff. Versus the free CodeCamp projects, which are here. Let's pull up the first one. This is HTML and CSS project. This is the fourth one they have you do. It's a technical documentation page. And it displays some HTML and CSS, and I think that's good. You can still get a job with HTML and just CSS, but it can be difficult. But you might be able to land something entry level with, just kind of this knowledge and a little bit of basic JavaScript. But honestly, in my personal experience, like that's still been really tough, even in my area. So this is like the first project that you do. The second section for JavaScript, you work on algorithms. Here's an example of Caesar Cipher. This is just all JavaScript. So you work on some JavaScript stuff. And then you go into the next section on here, which is front-end libraries, which is React. Let me pull my, where is it? Oh, right here. Pull my projects back up. So you build like a bunch of projects, like a JavaScript calculator and things like that. Now, so if you're trying to compare like a project like what I was showing you for my personal project to like a JavaScript calculator, like hands down, like the other project's gonna win out every time. And a lot of people that are graduating like boot camps, they're in there for 3 or 6 months. They're coming out with projects that they look amazing, like actual websites, and they're doing a really amazing thing. So I'd invite you to go look at some portfolios of people that are actually in the job market, if that's what you're trying to do, and actually take a look and see. Because if you're comparing something like a JavaScript calculator to like my personal project that I was just showing you, like hands down, like night and day difference. So that's huge. Data visualization, these projects are, I think it's cool to do them. Here's one of the data viz projects, and you build like a little chloropleth map, which I think is good. But as far as like jobs in my area, like there might be 1,200 software jobs on like a job board, and maybe 5 to 10 are looking for data visualization. So it's like you spend 300 hours to learn this stuff, and you don't really incorporate it into a website, and it's very, very time heavy, and at the end of the day, the value that it gives you is important. It's can be useful for building dashboards and things like that, but um, very, very time heavy. Maybe that's something to think about. And then the back end projects, let me pull that back up here. We have APIs and microservices. You'll work on backend stuff with Node. You can use some different database stuff like Mongo. I use Postgres. I didn't use Mongo for my projects, but you build like exercise tracker. Where is that? Let me pull that up. Um, Visit that project. Exercise tracker. You can basically log what type of exercises you're doing and duration, stuff like that. So that's for the APIs and microservices. And last one is this section, information security and quality assurance. So for this one, you're building out projects, and for example, let me pull up the personal library. You're building out projects, you're building the backend code on Node, and you're also building some tests to make sure that your routes are working and all your stuff's working. So this is the personal library. So this is what it looks like. Not super flashy. This has a functional backend and a database and everything, but not super flashy. So if you're comparing those projects, like personal projects or projects for other people that are actually in the job market, people that are getting out of boot camps, or they're self-taught or whatever, and you compare the projects to these, just night and day, hands down. Like there's just such a huge difference, and a lot of people, especially if they're in HR, they see this, they won't understand. They won't understand what this is. And so, that's a huge challenge. Even someone who is, a developer, maybe they might not, they might look at this and see it's not flashy, and unfortunately, a lot of people are judgmental, and they're not even going to give you the time of day. At least that's been my personal experience. So I kind of talk about my FreeCodeCamp projects as kind of like they're kind of like brownie points. If I have a chance to talk about them, but that hasn't been the things that have been interesting employers. Um, it's been my personal projects and those type of things that have really honestly taught me how to do development, as well as actually have something to demo and showcase. So for the time investment that you have to put in, it takes so much time, almost 1,800 hours to get through this. So you're going to get through this, and then you're still going to have to spend months and months and months, building real websites, building, your own personal projects. And that's a very, very steep cost considering how much time you're putting in just to this, to not have really projects and things to demo. I feel like time would be better spent actually working on your own personal projects, and then you actually have something to demo, and you're going to be a lot faster into learning the applicable skills, because you're actually building real websites and stuff like that 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 employers want. That's just been my personal experience. I'm not saying that you have to do absolutely everything in order to be able to get a job, but just in my experience, like it's just required so much more, and it's just been really, really tough. It's super competitive, at least in my area. I'm in Salt Lake. So when it comes to just, I would say expectations, where is here we go. When it comes to expectations, I feel like a lot of people, they paint the butterflies and rainbows, everything is super easy, but reality, at least for me, has been a different story. And so I feel like when I see things like this, like 40,000 FreeCodeCamp graduates have gotten jobs at these companies, Microsoft, Google, that's big, right? But I feel like the truth to the story is there's a lot more involved. Was it necessarily just because of FreeCodeCamp? I would say no. Um, there's a lot more involved. So when you're brand new and you read this, you think, oh, all I have to do is just get through FreeCodeCamp and finish FreeCodeCamp, and I'll be ready. you know um, but I found out that's not necessarily the case. So I'm sure these guys have gone on to get jobs and everything. I'm not saying that, they have, but I'm just saying that there's more involved. And the things that you need to work on and want to work on if you're wanting to get a job as soon as possible are going to be, competing in the marketplace and having really good projects and understanding how to solve business problems and making projects that do those type of things that you can demo and getting those skills. So it's a really big night and day difference, and it's super time heavy to get through free code camps. So if you're trying to get a job as soon as possible, that's stuff to keep in mind. That's stuff to be aware of and know of is that. And especially if you're new and you have no idea, like you know where you're gonna get by the time you free code camp. Like, is it gonna be worth it? Is it really gonna prepare you from the job market? Hopefully, what I've shared with you today has given you some insight about that. And again, I do appreciate the stuff that FreeCodeCamp is doing. They help a lot of people, especially that don't have access and resources to learn how to code. So I do appreciate everything that FreeCodeCamp does. But as far as if you're trying to get a job as soon as possible, keep in mind everything that I was able to share with you guys today. That's my take. Thank you for watching my channel, Coding with Colton, and good luck on your journey.